Lobby number 4 is moments away as we welcome you back to the Hearthstone Battlegrounds Brawl event with myself, Frodan, and Trixler. If you're tuning in halfway, you're getting off work, you're putting the dog to sleep, you're in the hot tub, you're chilling, you're on the toilet, who knows? We welcome all people from different walks of life here in the tavern. Welcome back. We're getting ready for the halfway point. After this match, we're gonna take a little bit of halftime break, also reset ourselves. We're also gonna check in on what teams are ahead in the standings in the Battlegrounds Brawl. These players, we have 16 players gathered here in California, 4 players per team, and with it, $200,000 on the line up for grabs. And I think Doombringers and the Rabid Rangers, the 2 teams that you've seen on your screen, they have a lot of ground to make up here.
They do, but we've already seen some pretty fun strategies from both of these teams. And we've also just gotten a solid amount of points from both these teams in our last round. So they could just be warming up. Maybe things weren't going too well for them in the first couple of games, but Rust Buckets right now have been showing that they are incredible. But let's go back over here to the Rabid Rangers. We just saw Vin's back there in the pink hoodie. Solid color, by the way. I think I want one of those. Showing that he was able to pull out a victory for his team. They used communication, able to find an early pickup, and they mentioned that they're looking for the win. They fear no other team, and Disguised Toast is the ace up their sleeve.
So what's funny is that Toast was actually getting some pointers from Vince. Vince was like pointing out, I think this hero is good. And Toast was like, okay, and like listening to him. It's a new patch. Toast is playing the new hero, Elise Starseeker, which we can explain if we end up seeing it, but there's a new patch. That's important for people to know. Maybe you took a little bit of a break from Battlegrounds after that first week of intense gameplay, where most people were playing way too much. They were saying
guilty.
like, oh, like, I don't have time for my normal activities because I'm just playing Battlegrounds so much. There's some new heroes in the mix of the tavern. They took out some of the other ones like King Mukla or Maleficent Mana Storm. Those were other heroes that were seeing a lot of mech play or beast play or murloc play. Instead, they replaced it with open-ended heroes like Elise and Sir Finley. So if you are an experienced Battlegrounds player and you haven't heard about the new patch, there's 4 new heroes to check out today.
Yeah, we've already seen Brand today, I think at least once, but let's go ahead and hop into it here. As we prepare for our next lobby, we're heading straight into Lobby B. And we'll see who can pull out the win. I hope that we can actually see Elise here, as you were mentioning her being picked up, as Toast is the one that grabbed it. She has an interesting mechanic with her hero power. Whenever she taverns up, which is what we've been talking about in the past, where you level up at the very top. You can see that where Bob is sitting whenever we get into the game. She gives you a free card that you are able to play for 3 gold that gives you a tavern hero at that tier, which is pretty interesting, being able to, you spend your economy to try and get an extra minion on the board. So here we are, actually, as Toast will be the first one that we look at as he faces off against Nefarian. Gonna take a little bit of damage, but you already see one of those cards there, because he actually is taking up pretty quickly, and he has that available to them. Let's go ahead and hover over that card really quickly. It's called a recruitment map. So you discover a minion from Tavern Tier 2. You play that for 3 gold, you find 3, and that can give you the ability to build in the composition you're trying to achieve.
Right, and I think a lot of people might think, is that too expensive? And I think the early consensus is that it is very expensive, but it's potentially very powerful. Because in this game, Hearthstone Battlegrounds, and quite frankly, any auto battler, you don't get to choose very often what's offered to you. And being able to discover something from a specific tier is really important, especially as you approach Taverns Tier 4, 5, and 6. 2 and 3 don't have nearly as much impact, but yeah, this is not an early start that you want. Hafu has Brand Bronzebeard, one of the new heroes as well, which after you play a Battlecry minion, give a friendly minion +1/+1.
I've got some fresh recruits for you.
But now Toast looks like he picks up a second Scavenging Hyena with the discovered map and has that amalgam. In the meantime, we're gonna head over to Hafu, who just recently defeated Disguised Toast. And we're gonna, again, focus on that new hero and that hero power. This one is called Battle Brand. Passive hero power after you play a Battlecry minion, give a random friendly minion +1/+1. And a lot of people speculate that Brand might be one of the best heroes just based off of the day 2 or 3 impression.
I've only done a little bit of testing with him, but there are definitely some synergies that really start to open up themselves. First off, I ran Murloc with it. It feels incredibly strong. You get a couple of cold lights because Murlocs were also buffed when it came to this patch. But there are also a couple of other cards that you typically try to pass up on that actually become very strong with this passive. Crowd Pleaser, which is a Tavern Tier 3 character, gets buffed whenever a battle cry is played, just by yourself. You don't have to click it on there. So you get to double down on this passive and what Crowd Pleaser can pull off. Also, you can run double brand. You can have brand and brand the card also mixed in as well. Just stats flinging across the board if you can get things to really run your way. So we'll witness here as we'll watch Hafu try to play that stat game and see if she is able to pull off a couple of these upgrades she's looking for.
Yes, another alternative for her to do is just to tier up. A very common thing to do is because every minion costs 3 gold to buy, you would buy a minion at 7 gold, and with the 4 remaining mana, tier up to 3. And that's exactly what Hafu is doing. A very common strategy to employ.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are wondering, like, what are some convenient breakpoints to level? And it's often when you have 3 mana remaining or 1 mana remaining, because you can immediately tier up, refresh, and then freeze. For people who don't know, refresh allows you to fill the tavern with new minions, aka reroll your shop, as some people might say as their shorthand nicknames, and then be able to freeze it to keep it for the following recruit phase.
But I do like your point of just spinning your economy in general. That is your goal. You do not save money from this turn to the next. At the end of your turn, you want to be as close to 0 as possible, or at least have a power pick available with that freeze mechanic or the refresh that you just pointed out there, Dan. So far, we've been getting a pretty strong board built up for Hafu. Not too many battle cries just yet, but that doesn't mean that she's playing incorrectly. She's building up a board, and a lot of your battle cries that you'll normally pick up are in that tier 3 and tier 4. Sure, you do have minions like Pogo, but a lot of players kind of really pass out on the Pogo. Pogo feels a little bit memey for some people, but I have tried the Pogo Dream with this guy, and it has worked. You just need to make sure that you find 3 to 4 of those copies.
All right, so with that, Hafu looks like she's in a pretty decent spot, but needs to pick it up. We're gonna hop on over to Mr. Brian Kibler, BK, the Bronze King, Brian Kibler.
The king of 3rd place. He has scored 3rd place
3 times.
3 times, which is in Hearthstone Battlegrounds terms a win every single time.
Oh, yeah,
Top
Kibler's
4
winning.
It's typically a winning strategy. Now with this tournament, some may be gunning for first, but hey, sometimes slow and steady is a way to win, as we have learned from stories in the past with the turtle versus the hare, right?
Yep, exactly. Now, one thing that Kibler was doing that we would like to highlight right now is that he was positioning his minions a lot. If you are new to Battlegrounds and you're not familiar with positioning, I think it's one of the more nuanced things about the game mode that people debate a lot. And a lot of people are wondering like how you should order in the early game. Kibler just showed it for us. The most sturdy to the weakest, the least sturdy, because you're able to get multiple attacks the earlier you order them. So if you place the mini bot and you place the old Murkai, the mini bot being here, the old Murkai being second, you're able to get multiple attacks in and therefore have the likelihood of sniping 2 things with those minions, which is really important. So one thing that's also important to note is that old Murkai gets +1 attack for each Murloc on the battlefield, both friendly and enemy. Therefore, you want to attack earlier because if it attacks 6th or 7th, there's not many Murlocs left on the field. Everything's dead. It's just going to revert back to a 2-4, in this case, a 4-6. So a very astute observation by Kibler to recognize that it's important to get that battle early, which might make a small difference, but important one. As you can see, sometimes having an extra attack or having an extra 1-1 means that you go from dealing damage to taking like 8 or 9.
Yeah,
and that's a massive swing.
Well, so far, it's working out for him. He has started to trade out some of his Murlocs, and he's looking for just pure upgrades, moving into the Menagerie. And this is actually really important for the Curator. We haven't pointed out his hero power. We've been talking about amalgams all day and how strong they are at the tier 2. But you get your own little itty-bitty amalgam, a 1-1, immediately right off the board when you play the Curator. It's plopped right onto the ground there, and you have a 1-1. And the best part is it can be buffed by every single battle cry, every hero or tribe buff, and you can just really use that as a way to build out your arsenal for the late game, and he's there from the start.
Yes, so Curator largely considered to be a very good, if not a top tier hero. However, Curator still need some things to fall into place, and Kibler's doing a great job finding those pieces and making sure to balance his positioning with his economy. He also finds the Bran Bronzebeard. We highlight this card being really important. It's very costly in terms of being a 5-star unit, so you have to get to level 5, but your battle cries trigger twice with cards like Menagerie Magician, which gives a random friendly Beast, Dragon, and Murloc. And guess what? Amalgams are everything. So you can use the 2 amalgams with the Menagerie Magician, with the Bran's Bronzebeard, and just get giga stats.
Giga stats indeed. In this case, if that brand was on the board and they played Menagerie, you would have a total of what? A 6/6 coming out onto the board there. There's a 2 onto the Murloc, 2 on the Amalgam, and the Amalgam on the far right, because again, that dragon counts.
12-12.
Yeah, so it would become a 12-12 afterwards with the double battle cries coming in there.
It's pretty silly.
That's just pretty nice to have. And he finds it early too. Typically when you're looking at brand and such, a lot of high-level players will say, hey, you can pick that up at any point as long as you have the board space, start buffing like crazy. But if you have 8 people still alive on the board, you're still in the early game. Get that brand out and play the odds. Get the bus flooding on the board. It's something that I didn't really do when I started playing the game. And once you realize the strength of brand, it becomes a must pick.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at cards like the Siege Breaker, which is your other demons get +1 attack, or they look at, Kindly Grandmother, which is a death rattle and summons beasts, and you combine it with other beast cards. And they think like, I need to get these other cards that have synergy. But sometimes just having broad stats of a lot of attack, a lot of health on board is enough, and actually even better than the alternative of just having all demons or having all mechs. And I think a lot of the players are properly showing us the value of just having all these stats on the board as opposed to just prioritizing synergy.
Definitely a lesson to learn here. You can really get to a point in this game where you're experimenting and learning from it. Now, so far, the Curator strat here has cost a couple of losses for Kibler, but he's been consistent. AFK comes in and swings for an 11. And we're getting to a point where lethality is starting to become an issue. We already have one of our members falling victim, getting picked off, moving into the 8th slot. It's going to be Amaz, who actually takes the loss here, as he is killed by 1 point. He had a total of 10 HP. He was hit by an 11.
Hafu eliminating Amaz, a rivalry as long as Hearthstone itself. One of my favorite things historically was actually watching Amaz and Hafu make a competition and monthly bet who would finish higher on the arena leaderboards. I don't actually know the final tally, but they've done several of them. That'd be a great question to ask them.
Yeah. I will note that for some interviews later on. It won't be Amaz this round, but Amaz has actually won already. He got a win on the last slot, so he doesn't have to feel too sour about this loss today. Sometimes when it comes to Hearthstone Battlegrounds, it's just gonna happen. Sometimes you lose. Just queue up again and head to the next one. Now, we do have the Lightfang Enforcer locked in and frozen for Kibler.
Yeah, this is an exclusive Battlegrounds only card. This is not available in Standard and Constructed or even Arena. Lightfang Enforcer, at the end of your turn, give a random friendly mech, Murloc, demon, and beast +2/+2. So be able to give +8/+8 in total every single turn. It's very strong. And you can see that Kibler is prioritizing just building up a board of a lot of those stats with the Menagerie Magician, with the Lightfang Enforcer and whatnot, really balancing his economy. Freezing the board. Freezing allows you to keep the minions in the tavern for after the combat phase. Now here we start to see some rearrangement of the positioning on battles. Why do you think Kibler's shifting all of his Divine Shields and stuff to the left now, as opposed to before he was keeping it all the way to the right?
He's looking to try and snipe some massive minions here and have his lower up minions clean up whatever is left over. And with the Divine Shield being there, you have a good chance to knock people out. And a lot of folks don't have poison quite yet. That's more of a late game type of strategy that starts to unfold itself when you find certain mixtures. And look at that, he gets off a couple of big hits here as he faces off against a ghost. Wait a minute, is he gonna lose to the ghost?
Kibler's gonna lose to Amaz's ghost.
Oh my, that's hard to watch.
Oh boy, let's listen to Kibler and see what he's talking about here.
Let's listen to Kibler and see what he says.
Like it just all attacked horribly. Yeah, that was.
You can cry on stream. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
Tough battle. Pick yourself back up and turn it around. Better hire a recruit while you can. You're down a minion and up a goal.
Oh, man.
Wow, intense commentary from Brian Kibler here.
Not really much to say there, man.
Yeah, look, let's be very real here. Hearthstone Battlegrounds, if you want to play and play very well, you got to focus.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are conditioned, myself included, to open up, you know, some Netflix or Hulu or YouTube or Twitch streams on the side while playing Game of Hearthstone, because it's very relaxing and chill. And anime, yeah, Crunchyroll. Shout out to all the weebs out there.
Attack on Titan, let's go. All right, continue, sorry.
We can talk about that as well if you'd like. But the thing to focus on is that these players are concentrating. So after the battles are starting, you know, maybe that's where you see the commentary. But during, you have to be focused. And you know what? This might be one of the few times in Hearthstone, or one of the few game modes, where mechanics matter.
Yeah.
In the sense that sometimes being very quick with your mouse and being accurate and precise is really important to making sure you're buying and selling within the time period that you get.
Yeah, you really want to make sure that where you're placing things, where your economy's being spent, that you are on point as possible to give you the best chance to earn a win. Because in Hearthstone Battlegrounds, you actually can't see your opponent's board. You can't click on it. So you want to just make sure that overall, whatever strategies are usually pretty common, you are set up for. Now, we do have a pretty big hit there. Things looking a little rough here for Kibler.
To pop that Divine Shield. The Divine Shield just never popping.
It doesn't do it. It just a big bubble, saving the day. The bubble boy is here.
The good news, Kibler's not dead. And that Rat Pack popped, it would have been lights out. But Kibler's on his last life here.
So now he needs to figure out, ooh, that's a big pick there. Toxfan with the Divine Shield, the amalgams, he can get those nice up and poisoned. He needs to figure out what is the best way for me to get the best board possible to make sure that I do not fall out here.
Yes.
So he's trying to figure that out now, getting a couple of battle cries, trying to mix in that brand for a little bit more value.
He has an opportunity to get this Overseer, which buffs a demon, and amalgams are everything, so he can buff the amalgams as well. The poisonous is really key, and you can see that Kibler was also somewhat aggressively rolling for other options at 5, such as a Battle Master, or being able to get a really impactful card to potentially replace things like Menagerie Magician, which is just not that great. The problem is that Kibler's a little bit too all-in on the amalgams, and the support cards, they're just 4/4s. Their battle cries aren't already done. If you want to think about it abstractly, if you play other auto battlers out there, there's a lot of items in the game to itemize your heroes or champions. Battle cries are the equivalents of very small items to equip your units throughout the game. And so right now what Kibler has is a bunch of small items on the field and like 3 real fighters. He needs a lot more. So if these amalgams go down without collecting enough value like we saw, Kibler's going to be eliminated, and he's going to be out of the top 4, which would break his amazing consistency streak as the 3rd place Bronze King.
I mean, I look at it differently here. I see Kibler in the middle of a pool. It's super deep, and he has 2 current balloons holding him up, and that's those 2 amalgams. And if darts are being thrown at him and they connect with these amalgams in the wrong time, he could be sinking. He's going to hold a decent trade. Wouldn't want it to hit the Sensei, but we do have the small minions here that can hit the Divine Shields. One connects.
Okay.
All right.
We're in business. And with this, Kibler is in a pretty good spot to run it all the way down to the end zone.
Okay, there it is. It hits the Rat Pack. There's some spawns. Okay, he's pretty safe here. He definitely scores a field goal.
Big moment.
So he frees, he holds, but it won't be enough to do much damage here to the Rat King. But again, it's all about survivability here. It gives them more time to keep building up those amalgams.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of damage to me.
Yeah, will be enough to secure a kill. We'll see here. 25 is quite high, but lethality is huge in this game. It's going to be a total of 15.
Yeah, 15 damage. And now RDU dragged down to 4th place. Kibler's going to go up against Nefarian. Nefarian's being played by Asmodai, and that hero power from Nefarian is really scary because it might make his Divine Shields all gone because it deals 1 damage to everything. We'll show you after that battle started, but for now, Kibler needs to make contingency plans. How is he best going to deal with an Asmodai board?
He's really playing around these Divine Shields, and with Nefarian having that hero power, as you mentioned, there's no way for him to cycle out the Divine Shields like a Cobalt Guardian would. So we'll see how he's going to be able to handle that. Also, Asmodai is running a beast composition, so he has to worry about his Divine Shields and also worry about the Hyena being buffed. We'll see how it plays out. As for now, he keeps stacking up on the stats and gets a Cave Hydra to help cleave a little bit of damage in the fight.
Interesting that Kibler just favors a little bit extra health than damage, and I agree with that. He had the opportunity of buffing attack only, or attack and health, but a little bit less. But taking a look at this pan out, we see that 1 damage Nefarian Hero Power coming in clutch. At the start of combat, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Bye-bye Divine Shield. And we're going to see if Kibler has enough to survive post-Divine Shield madness, because this Hyena is going to get real big if it's not dealt with early.
Hyena takes a little bit of a hit, down to 6, but the Rat Pack should be able to get a couple of rats here. Oh gosh, the Hyena is so low. Can he find the snipe on it? Brand charging in as well. 23 and 20 left with Amalgam. Bam, it hits the Hyena. Woo! And Kibler.
Big move there.
Takes a big sigh of relief.
Yes, if that rat trap or that rat pack died, there's a chance that Kibler would have been pushed out of this game. But surviving and dealing 7 right back to Asmodai,
and the
Kibler
best
survives.
part is look at his board now. Remember, on the last phase, he was able to grab a Cave Hydra. He was looking for a beast or maybe a demon he could mix in. So he wanted to have that Light Fang buff up this Cave Hydra, and that gives him more strength over time.
Yeah, I saw that Kibler had another Cave Hydra, but I think this might have been an accidental double roll. This is something that happens a lot if you click and you don't see immediate feedback on the shop refresh. Sometimes you accidentally click it twice because he passed the second Cave Hydra, and I don't know if you want to necessarily do that, but at the same time, Kibler could be playing for a top 4 finish here, because Cave Hydra number 2 doesn't do anything. Remember, you need 3 of a kind to get that triple reward. And in order to get that triple reward, you need to have 3 of them, and if you can't fit a second Cave Hydra onto the board, then it's kind of sitting dead in your hand. Therefore, Kibler might be saying, I want to invest into my turn now rather than my future turns with the 3rd Cave Hydra.
Looking to get on the board there. It's one of those strats that have kept him consistently placing at 3rd place and getting points for his team.
Look at that great positioning, too. Kibler placed weak minions like Brand Bronzebeard and his Light Fang between his taunts. And that means that any cleave AoE will be hitting these minions. And remember, Brand, the value in Brand is before the battle begins. Once the battle starts, it's just this 2-form that doesn't really do much. So Kibler absorbed a bunch of damage by positioning correctly, spacing out his taunts. I've seen so many players feel like if they jam all their taunts in a row, they're safe. Much better to spray in and pepper in all that damage to prevent the Cave Hydras and the Foe Reapers from getting in.
Weak units, and then if you also do have a board of mediocre units across the board, if they have death rattles, is another thing that you can do to try and set yourself up for those cleaves. So good point there, Frodan. For some of you that might run mech at home, you may have seen the Mechanoegg, that could work out. Ooh, another Light Fang available here, and also Battle Cries for buffs.
So the thing is, I don't believe Brand doubles up on Battle Cries. People might think 2 brands, that means you times 4, right? I don't think it works that way. So you have to, Kibler selling 1, totally understandable. Gets Cold Light Seer and a Toxfin. Toxfin can help give this other Amalgam poisonous, because remember, Amalgam is everything. Oh, interesting. Kibler goes for the 2nd Cold Light Seer. He favors that extra health.
An additional 8 health per Murloc.
Very candidly, if 43 attack isn't enough to kill everything,
Yeah, that's a good point.
your opponent is super duper strong and you might be in trouble. Having 45 attack is basically poisonous, right?
You're just hoping for survivability. If they don't have poison, you should get multiple trades. The only unit that shouldn't instantly die to 47, if played correctly, is going to be that Battle Master. So I actually agree with this play, just making sure to get as much health as possible. And if your opponent's out poison, you should be able to secure the wins. We're going into another round. This is actually Brand, who is currently in 1st place, who is Hafu, who we checked in earlier. Hafu has her own Light Fang set up and a pretty disgusting board already, as she has a 28-28 Rat Pack, and we'll see if Kibler can handle this.
It's a battle of Light Fang compositions. Menagerie is very strong. And great positioning from Kibler again, but right back at you. Hafu striking back. Oh, this 49 attack minion going down.
Poison was also cleaned up, though, and he does have a poison lasting here with 56 HP.
Yeah.
Does lose a substantial amount, 39 gone. These microbots going to try and take out whatever they can.
That was big.
There we go.
That was so big because there's 27 attack on this Murloc and 28 health onto this rat trap. And as a result...
Oh, it's going to be 1 HP.
Oh, that's right. It's
No,
a
it's
two
twos.
twos.
Oh
it's
my.
2-2s, not 1-1s. Hafu's going to eliminate Brian Kibler.
It was a golden rat pack. So typically when a rat pack comes out, it's a 1-1, but the golden one increases it to a 2-2.
Exactly.
And Hafu, with the golden rat pack that has been buffed out of its mind, is able to take out Kibler, who will take 4th place this round.
Hafu eliminating players, going for that first place. Kibler with another consistent finish, but his 3rd place streak has been broken. Instead, top 3, Hafu, Osmodai, and RDU. RDU on the Rat King, Osmodai on Nefarian, who is going to be Hafu's next opponent.
Light Fang upgrade comes in, which will free up some board space here for Hafu. Actually,
Megasaur looks really tempting here because you get to adapt that Murloc and give it something else like Divine Shield or Wind Fury, but only gets the +3 health. You don't get, there's no benefit for poisoning twice. There's no double poison. There's no benefit from getting Divine Shield twice. Usually in Hearthstone, for effects like that, you only can have it one time.
Sure, makes sense. Could you imagine having double poison in this game? Just brand
What does that even
spreading.
mean?
I don't even know.
Just
what that
kill through
means.
death rattles?
You
or-
just spread it to multiple units. Just give it to everybody. You might as well make it a cleave. That's what it would be.
Oh boy.
A cleave with poison. All right, here. So we got some more stats coming in as a couple of upgrades pop up. A roll comes out from Hafu. Looking for a solid minion to throw on the board
Yes.
just to help out with those cleaves.
Just look at the baseline stats of some of these cards. You have Minibot, which is a 2-2. It got to a 40-40.
Do we call that a gigabot or a megabot? Which one's bigger? Giga, I think? Yeah?
Terabot.
Terabot? I like the terabot.
Vulgar Homunculus at 4-8, now a 43-47. This is the most important thing to do, is prioritize what you're going to beef up your stats. Remember, the battle cries, they're kind of like the itemization, so to make them super strong, get them buffed up, and power through. I really like the second Foe Reaper as well. I think a lot of people, oh, sorry about that. I think a lot of people understand the value of having one area of effect with Cleave. We call this effect the Cleave. Also damages the minions next to whoever attacks. Having a second Cleave is really good to follow up the first Cleave, because the first Cleave is most likely going to pop Divine Shields, and the second one can get in for that big damage spread.
Also helps clears up any death rattles your opponent might have, so like some of those rat packs have been lingering around with
Exactly.
so far. So I agree with you. Cleaves are just the name of the game here in the late game, especially if you don't have to deal with Divine Shields. Poison comes out and takes out the big minion for Hafu, but Hafu's got a couple more laying around and still has that Foe Reaper up.
Asmodai. Oh no, that 10 damage to the hyena, that hurts.
Can it dodge long enough, and will it be buffed enough to handle all this?
This is not looking good. Hafu looks like she's gonna eliminate Asmodai from the lobby.
Hafu just taking out players left and right. There goes a hyena, there goes a rat, and there goes George the rat as well, as he will be taken out. We'll miss you, George.
Oh.
And guess what?
RDU also lost to the Shadow.
Wait a minute. He lost to the Ghost, which means that Hafu is gonna be able to pull out the win.
Hafu ends in first place. RDU losing to the Ghost of the Curator. And that is gonna mean a second place win or a second time win for Hafu, as she is carrying the Megathins back into contention for first place.
Impressive win there from Hafu, pulling out another victory today. And your team's got to be loving that, right? Being able to score multiple wins, almost a bit of a hypercarry here coming in from Hafu.
Yeah, Hafu and Dog really holding it down. Trump being pretty consistent with top fours as well. But don't forget, RDU, her teammate, also is in the
Second place
lobby,
ones, right?
which he might have gotten second or third place. It does depend on some of those damage values after the battle has resolved. But Team Megathins with a great lobby to start off round number 4.
The question is whether or not it is enough to take that first place. I believe they were 1 point going behind them going into it, which means we could have someone else be in first place compared to what we've seen so far from the Rust Buckets. So
Yep.
We are going to have to wait and see where those updated standings do come in. I am very, very curious about it. But for now, let's go ahead and look into Lobby B and see the results that have currently unfolded here. So this was the lobby that we were actually watching. Frodan, Hafu was able to grab the first 5 points.
Yeah, and a big step for Asmodai from going 2 points to 4 points in second place. That's a big difference. Brian Kibler, of course, holding up the rear, getting that 1 point finish. Surrender, Disguised Toast, Chocobars, and Amaz rounding out the bottom 4. The Rabid Rangers still struggling to get some points on the board.
See,
but
Kibler, 1 point is just breaking my brain, man. I'm so used to him being the 2 point king.
Well, it's okay. He's still very consistent. But, you know, Hafu, we talked about how getting first and 8th is much better than just getting 3rd or 4th every single game.
Yeah.
Hafu's already put at least 10 points up, and I think maybe even more from her first, second finishes. And that's more than just getting 3rd place every single lobby thus far. So going for first is a really important strategy a lot of times for the lobbies, and I got to respect that, right? You see Amaz. He got first and then he went back to 8th, but at the same time, he's generating a lot of points for his team.
Sure.
First places are the real breadwinners for this tournament.
Yeah, I think as a team, because remember, you're playing as 4 people here, not just 1 person. You can have 2 people say, hey, you guys just gun for first the entire time. We'll have a couple people on our team just play consistent. And that's what Kibler's been doing for the Rust Buckets, and Amaz and Kalinta have been looking for those first place victories. So it's a good team way to look at it. Now, I believe Hafu is the only person here to actually score 2 wins so far. If I remember correctly from all the matches that we've had a total of 4 rounds, multiple lobbies as well. So kudos to her. We'll see if she can pull out another victory. But for now,
Lobby A, I believe, is finishing up right now.
Nice.
So we're going to check in on them momentarily. But in the meantime, after this round has finished, we're going to have the halftime. We have 8 lobbies that are going to be happening today, and 4 has already concluded after this one finishes up. Or 7, excuse me. We're going to finish up the 4th lobby, take a little bit of a halftime break, and then come back and try to see if the last 2 lobbies team can switch it around. Right now, based off the first 4 lobbies, though, Rust Buckets, Megafins, and, you know, Doombringers may be coming back a little bit here. We'll have to see, but I want to see what other movement happened in the other lobby.
Yeah, Doombringer is sitting at 3rd place, and then of course we had the Rabid Rangers as well that was down in 4th. Now they were only 1 piece apart, but the biggest difference between 2nd and 3rd place. So we'll see if they do start to climb that and at least close the gap a little bit. They'll have 4 more rounds to do it when we come back from our little intermission as well. It's just a matter of whether do they change up their strategy or are they just getting a little bit unlucky. Someone in particular that I was looking out for today was Surrender, and Surrender has gotten 1 win, but other than that, had some hard placements. So you have to wonder if maybe he can bring that back after a bit of a break.
Yeah, you know, I think with Surrender, he's kind of been bubbling out a little bit, getting 5th or 6th, but getting that first. But ultimately, going back to your point, is that I think some teams may have some specific notions on what they think is good. And after these 4 lobbies, I wonder if they're just going to try to reevaluate and say, you know what? We thought mechs were good. We thought beasts were good. No one's going demons, you know, like these kinds of ideas. Let's see if they can maybe work that in for the second half.
I'm hearing that we might have a winner from our other lobby. Dan,
Right.
Did you hear who that winner was?
I got a feeling it was Dog based off the reaction behind me, which means Dog and Hafu both win their lobbies. And I think a lot of people were picking Hafu and Dog to do very well given their experience and their general pedigree of auto battlers. And that's not surprising whatsoever. People picked Megafins as another favorite of this tournament alongside the Rust Buckets. And I think they're showing why.
They really delivered. What a powerful round for both of them here in our 4th matchup so far, as they both got 5 points for their team. We have all the points being contributed together, and we'll be able to get a full update to see where everyone is. But for now, let's look at round 4, Lobby A. In first place, Dog with a total of 5. Kalinta at 4 points here in second place.
Yep, Kalento getting that silver, really nice for Rust Buckets. Solari's Fins gets 3rd place after his first place finish, so holding out strong for Rabid Rangers. And then Zalay with that 1 point, which is could be a difference maker, but Doombringers, you know, slowly bringing it up.
Yeah.
And one thing that I believe is interesting is that with this finish, we have 1 member from each team actually placing the top 4.
Well, there you go. And Zalay able to grab that win. It's huge for him because he's had a couple of rough rounds so far. But here is the update. And no one takes a lead. We actually have a tie, Frodan.
Oh my goodness. 34 points to 34 points. Rust Buckets and Megafins are tied. We were told that if there is a two-way tie in standings, it's unlikely, but it could happen. Imagine if it ended right now. We would have both teams get into the same lobby, and whichever teams won more points in that lobby would be the victors.
Yeah.
And if we're tied in points after the lobby, and again, unlikely, but it could happen, whoever gets first place wins the tournament.
So if there's a tie, we get one more game no matter what, and we do have plans in case there are more ties to go all the way down. But wow, incredible stuff so far here at the Hearthstone Brawl. And we actually have some information about Dog and how he got his victory. Apparently we got a couple of plays.
Let's see how he did it.
Let's do it as we move straight on in.
Wait, did he do it? Did the Mad Lad go Demons?
Did he?
Dog, did you go Demons?
And he got Patchwork too. This is a really
you
cool
are
strategy.
a sick man.
Oh my gosh, look at that Weaver just getting completely buffed up. And remember, he had that additional health to play with for Patchwork, so he's able to pull it off.
Yeah, so Hafu explained that Dog, he was originally going for tier 5 to try to get Mal'Ganis and to try to get the Battle Master. These are really high impact, and the Void Lord, excuse me, to get high impact demons. But he was rewarded with a Light Fang, which let him pivot into a Menagerie composition while still holding on to a Wrath Weaver that's 34-34. And that's awesome. Utilizing demons as your base, building out into Menagerie, or just having a different composition in general while being demon focused goes to show you that you shouldn't ignore demons. Even though a lot of people are writing it off and saying it's not as strong as some of the other tribes.
I do like that he kept that as well and then pivoted to the Homunculus being the demon, because the Weaver actually doesn't have a tribe. It builds off of demons, but it's a neutral unit. So he was able to continue building up and he secured the win. Great Light Fang play. And Dog can be happy about that one.
Demons are my favorite tribe in Hearthstone. I love them. There's only a few of them, but they're very effective, and there's a little bit of pain. You have to be kind of a masochist to play demons, which I think a lot of players can relate to whenever we play games like Hearthstone. We're a little bit masochistic.
The best thing I can do is hate myself. No problem whatsoever.
Done. We're going to take a 10-minute break. It's halftime here at the Hearthstone Battlegrounds Brawl, so don't go anywhere. After this intermission, we're going to get round 5 started and find out who is going to take home the championship.